All right, welcome everybody to the second episode of the Digital Dungeon Master Podcast, and I've got some very special guests with me today. I've got none other than the Wild Die Podcast. I've got Eric, Gary, and Harrison here today. Missing Nick, so we'll just go ahead and pick on him the entire episode and blame everything on him because he's not here and he can't defend himself. So, what's going on, guys?
Hello. It's good to be here.
It's good to have you.
I always say that when I'm still just in my own house. It makes no sense. But yeah, it's good to be on this podcast is what I mean.
Well, it's good to have you guys. No problem. Okay. Let you guys introduce yourselves. Yeah, you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves. Don't be shy.
Yeah, this is Eric. Good to be in the Dave Cave between the ball of lube and the bag of Cheetos.
Oh, yeah, the Dave Cave. I even actually renamed one of my Discord channels after the Dave Cave. Oh, yeah.
Don't listen to that fraud. That is not Eric. This is Eric.
Who are you? Big lumberjack looking dude.
It's me, everybody. Hey, good morning. Harrison looking svelte as usual. Eric,
Gary,
I don't know. Pardon me?
You have to say your name, Gary, remember?
Well, you just said it for me, so if I say it now, it'll kind of be, what's that, rhetorical, I think is the big word I'm looking for.
Okay, all right, fine. Gary is Gary.
Thanks, thanks, everybody. I'm Gary, the lumberjack. I'm watching Eric eat. It's a little distracting and kind of sexual.
I think he's eating a cheese stick, isn't he?
Yeah.
One of those little cheese sticks? Yeah. You're getting me hungry now.
He's trying to find some Doritos in and amongst all the man flesh that's in this Dave Cave.
It's just like meat zombies everywhere here, meat ogres and stuff.
If there is Doritos in this man cave, I'm going to sprinkle them all over the ground so Eric has to bend over and pick them up.
Maybe he has his wiener tucked between his legs, and you can see that when he bends over for you, Gary.
maybe his wiener is like an elephant trunk, and he doesn't have to bend over.
So what sort of podcast is this? I thought we were talking about role playing games, but is this a different kind of podcast?
This is called the ERP bonus section that we're going to have for the Digital Master Podcast.
We were role playing. I was going to be the panda, and Eric was going to be the elephant. What are you guys going to be?
Quick, I'll be Leonardo DiCaprio tied up in the chamber.
I'm starting to regret coming on here now. You know when I said I was glad to be here earlier on? Can I take that back?
No, you can't. And I'll PayPal $20 for that, actually, by the way. We'll just put that on my tab.
Okie dokie.
So the Wild Die Podcast. You guys do a podcast, usually comes out every couple of weeks. Tell me a little bit about this Wild Die Podcast. What is it all about?
Well, Eric's eating something at the moment, so I will say that it is a podcast for beginners and veterans alike, all about Savage Worlds. Savage Worlds is a RPG, David, which is a game.
You're being so formal, Harrison. It's kind of turning me on.
No, I'm trying. I'm just trying to be professional for once. Yes, it's a role-playing game. Your fans have probably heard of it, and yeah, our podcast specializes in that, and we try to educate people and to have fun with it also at the same time. It's quite good. I would recommend that people go and have a listen because you will learn stuff, you will laugh, you'll cry, mainly cry.
There'll probably be some crying.
There will be. That's the good thing about y'all's podcast. I mean, that's what I really enjoy about it. I enjoy the comedical factor, although I love the content as well. But listening to you guys banter with one another is just, it's off the hook sometimes. Good stuff. So this Wild Die Podcast, I think it kind of fell into your lap. So why don't you guys go ahead and, tell me how you guys got into it. I want to know the history of the Wild Die Podcast, who started it, whose lap this thing fell into, all that good stuff. Inquiring minds want to know all this stuff,
Now that you finished eating, Eric, go ahead and tell them how you picked me last.
Welcome to the podcast. We're going to call you Cheese Dick.
Right. Gary's the runt of the podcast.
He's a what?
Tell him how you picked me last, Eric.
Eric, that's a terrible word. You should never say that.
That's not what happened. Well, back in 2015, two friends, Jamie Pearson and Blaine Wagner, played their first Savage Worlds game at a convention, so they decided to make a podcast for it. They were already on the podcast scene with the Gathering of Dorks and a bunch of other shows, so that was just one more for them. And then a couple months later, they invited me over on the show. I was friends with Jamie, and I stuck around. They liked me there, so I stayed on the show. And by the end of the year, Jamie, well, life happened, personal reasons. He couldn't do the show anymore, so he asked me if I wanted to take over the show. And at first, I said no because, well, I don't know how to do this. Jamie took care of everything. I just sat there and answered questions and spoke when I was speaking. Yeah, when I was spoken to. But seeing how everybody in the community was sad to see the show go or potentially go, then I thought about it and said, well, I'll give this a shot, but I needed help for that. So Harrison and Nick were running the tabletop twats there for the Nerds International, and I got along with them. I liked hanging out with them. Didn't have a whole lot of opportunities to hang out with them. So I figured if we do a podcast together, then I'll be hanging out with them. And then, like I said, in the back of my mind, Gary was always there. And I knew Gary was good with the pick last. I knew Gary was good with the technical side of things. And what I didn't know about Gary is that I'd get a very hard worker. I mean, the guy works hard the whole week, and he still finds
very hard. Very hard. Very hard.
Like a chunk of burning love, that's for sure.
Like gay porn hard. Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh,
works.
Simmer down.
Wow.
So with that, because the show started about two guys that wanted to learn about Savage Worlds. They were new to it. They wanted to learn with their listeners. And while if I was going to run this show, I mean, I've been playing Savage Worlds for like 10 years now. So I couldn't bring really that part of the show, the learning. I still have a lot to learn about it, but different things. So Nick and Harrison were kind of new to it. Gary had a year or two under his belt, so he knew a little bit more. So that way we had a broad spectrum of, interests and personalities that could cover, different kind of listeners. So I think so far we have a good group dynamic. And like you said, the fun part, we like that. We like to make people laugh because the podcasts I listen to, usually they make people laugh. If it's all too serious, I just can't listen. So I wanted that. I wanted to make it funny, entertaining, but at the same time learning about Savage Worlds. So that's why I think it can appeal to both beginners and veterans alike, like Harrison said.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. So
we got a wide variety of ages between us, gaming experience between us, gaming styles between us, ethnic backgrounds, that kind of stuff.
I'm only actually 12 years old. I may look haggard, but I've had a hard.
Well, all East Indian 12-year-old boys have huge mustaches, so you could quite literally be.
I think he's getting a little cheeky with you, Harrison, actually. There's the extent of my English lingo knowledge, so getting a little cheeky with you.
I apologize.
12-year-old boys with big mustaches. Oh, God. That's an ETU character right there for you, Gary.
Sign me up.
Yeah, but it's true. I mean, because there are 2 other podcasts for Savage Worlds out there, and both of them are based in the U.S. And of course, most of the player base for Savage Worlds is in the U.S., but there are people all over the world playing that game. So I thought it was important to bring people from, the other side of the pond there. And with Harrison and Nick over in England, Gary in Canada. I was born in Montreal, Canada, but I've been living down here in the States for 15 years now. So I think it covers a wide range of ages, like he said, from Harrison still in his 20s, I think, and Gary in his mid 40s. And,
Did you say tweens? Tweens?
Tweens.
Harrison's a tween.
Listen, I also think that the Savage Worlds, one of the things that brings a lot of people to it is the community as well. And I think that having people from all over the globe, that kind of signifies that as well. And that's why I think that having all of us from all over the world actually sort of helps that along. So it sort of shows that Savage Worlds has this amazing community behind it. So yeah, it's good. It's very, very. It's an honor to be part of the Wild Die. Plus, before I was invited on, I was going to start my own podcast called The Even Wilder Die. But I bet Eric invited me on.
Yeah. The search for a Lebanese co-host is still on, by the way. Trying to cover the Middle East and that area, maybe an Asian. Gary's got a student living there. What? Tony? Maybe Tony wants to come on the show.
He's literally 5 feet that way.
Can you go get him?
Yeah, I'll go wake him up. It's only 5:11 in the morning. Nothing wrong with a 6'4", 400-pound fat white guy walking in and a small Asian boy at 5 in the morning. That's not going to get me thrown in jail.
Just go and wake him up by shouting at him. What do you think of Savage Worlds?
Yeah, you know what? I usually when my international students come into my house, the first thing I ask them is whether or not they know karate. If they say no, then I'm like, okay, then it's game on.
It's bizarre, Gary. It's bizarre that you refer to them as my international students. They don't belong to you, man. And you should.
No, they do belong to me.
When he's flipping the bill for the time being, yeah, I think they belong to him.
I should call them.
We do human trafficking.
How do you think we pump out so many episodes?
Eric.
You guys have got your Wild Dice sweatshop there, producing all this content.
We get them to write.
Sleeping. Yeah, it's sleeping right next door.
We recently did a 50 Fathoms Let's Play, and I think it went really well. And I got a little Chinese boy to write that for me. I had to beat him mercilessly.
Oh my goodness! So what are you guys going to do? What is in store for the future of the Wild Die podcast? You guys going to expand out? Going to do YouTube? What are you guys going to do?
We're thinking of the heroin trade next. No, I'm just joking.
Nice.
Sorry. I don't know, Eric.
We tried the heroin trade, but Harrison ate up all the profits.
That's how I managed to maintain my figure.
That's why me and Eric, you can tell me and Eric never got into heroin. We're kind of a little, well, I mean, especially me. This stuff was never even in my house. Just look at me.
Now we get some from China, right?
We got on the Patreon thing. To cover the hosting costs, but we also would like to offer more to our patrons, so that all that money that we get from the support, we can actually produce better episodes. Those actual plays that we've put out, edited by Harrison, he's a genius. Those are awesome, but it takes a lot of time to do, so we use that money to produce these. And now we just got a new logo because of Patreon, and we commission new artwork for a logo, which is amazing. So we're thinking, thanks. We're thinking of merchandising that. That'd be a fun thing to do for the fans. But as far as going onto YouTube, I mean, we do have one video, an actual play, but yeah. So right now, just podcast, just radio.
Well, I can't wait to get my Wild Die dildo. You know, the mega dildo, whatever, the jackhammer you guys are going to be putting out in your store in the future. I can't wait to get that.
It's going to be our box. It's going to be
This is such a for our show, because our show is PG-13, and it's like now we're on Dave's show. It's like the gloves are off. We could talk about what.
Yeah, you guys can talk about anything you want. The gloves are off, guys. The explicit.
I've got my grandma working on. I got my grandma working on the Wild Die banana hammock right now. Yeah, she's knitting. She's knitting it up right now as we speak. I mean, nice banana hammock with a dice bag on the bottom.
What's a banana hammock? What is Eric eat? Okay, look, two things have just happened at once. First of all, what's a banana hammock? Second of all, I think Eric just put a fucking cue ball in his mouth.
It looked like at least an entire egg. At least it was pretty massive.
Eric, stop eating.
So what is a banana hammock first? We're going to get back to Gary because he's still chewing. Gary, what the hell is a banana hammock? I don't even know what a banana hammock is. Is it something like bananas and pajamas or something like that? I don't know.
Is it for a wank?
Yes, and it is specifically designed not to be so much of a pouch for your man unit as it is to be like a shirt for your man unit. It covers the shaft and it covers the tea bag. It's like a cozy for your tea kettle that you would have in Britain, but except it's like form fitting, and it'll say the Wild Die, and then on the where you put your dice, it'll say the Wild Die as well.
Or podcast.
Wait, you say dice? Do you mean ball sack?
Yes,
I think he does. I think he's still I think he's still trying to keep it PG-13, Harrison.
So when you first put it on, it'll just say WD on the top, and then it'll say sack where your wild dice go, and then as you get aroused, it'll stretch out and say Wild Die.
Jesus,
that's amazing. Okay.
Or in case, just wild.
Well, somebody might even just say WD still when it stretches out.
No, what if I know what? No, what would be really cool is if it said the Wild Die on it, so people would just think, oh, it says the Wild Die, and then when you get aroused and it stretches out, it's got a URL on it that links to a secret episode of the podcast.
That would be really cool. So yeah, I've just completely had my grandma knitting me up a ball sack cover, and you guys just don't even care that my grandma's knitting it. You just was like more worried about how it would fit.
Because we just expect that from you. That's like you just tell her that it was something else. You'd be like, Grandma, can you knit me this? And she's like, what's this for? It's an odd shape. And you'd be like, shut up, it doesn't matter.
I just told her it's for a baby elephant that I adopted. It's cold here in Canada, and we need to put a toque on it and keep its snout warm.
Oh my God.
And my grandma was like, oh, you're such a sweet little boy. And I thanks, Grandma.
So what in the hell were you eating, Eric? What the hell was that golf ball sized chunk of food you put in your mouth?
It's a chocolate treat. It's cornflakes and then melted chocolate, and you just stir it, and then you put it in the fridge.
Wow,
you call that a treat?
Too, huh?
It sounds like
holy shit.
That sounds like shit. You call that a treat?
It's delicious. Did you never make them when you were a kid?
Oh,
that looks like poop, Eric.
It does look like poop, but they are nice.
I bet you they are good.
I can't believe you've never had that, Gary.
No.
You haven't lived.
Apparently.
So, do we talk about RPGs on this show at all?
Yeah, we do actually. Well, we're digressing a lot. Jeez, that's it happens when you're in a Dave cave. I mean, that just kind of happens. So
all these there's so many I don't know things for sexual maneuvers sort of lying around. I get distracted. So we start talking about
we've got banana
Eric,
hammer.
Yeah, and Eric with his scat treats.
Scat treats.
So how in the hell did you guys get into gaming? You know, how did you guys get into tabletop games? Harrison?
Okay, actually, this is very interesting, right? Because I got into gaming via the Dungeons and Dragons Fantasy Adventure board game. That was the first thing I ever played, but I recently picked up a copy of it, and I have it right here. I don't know what I was looking through the contents of the box earlier. See, the listeners won't be able to see it, but they can hear it, and here it is. Look at that! Isn't it amazing?
Yeah, I remember that.
How much fun the kids are having on the box. That's how you can tell. There's one kid who just looks so happy he's going to fucking explode. So that's just it. But it was awesome.
Which one are you?
He's the good-looking kid.
He's the kid the good-looking one that's about to explode.
But it was really cool, and it comes with 40 miniatures, some tiles, a bunch of stuff. I swear they must have been losing money on this, but it came with adverts to get you into D&D 3.5 inside. So I think that was the point in it. But
Didn't it have a lot of expansions too?
It did, and it had like a winter one and some sort of lava-based thing. I can't really remember, but it was really, really cool. And I bought this again because I got it for £30 off of a Facebook group, and I got it mainly because it comes with 40 minis, which is a ridiculous price, and all the tiles that came inside it. But I basically got into it via that, and then that had the adverts for the books inside, and then I got into D&D from there basically, and that was basically how I got into gaming. I just thought this is awesome. I wonder what the full version is like. Yeah. I played this when I was like 13 with all my friends and stuff. It was a genuinely good introduction to it. It plays a lot like Hero Quest, basically. But I think it pretty much is kind of the same game-ish, but it's just got a D flavor to it.
I have a question. You bought that off a Facebook group when you were 13?
No, I bought it off a Facebook group again recently, but when I was a kid, I bought it from Argos. I want to do a big shout out to Argos. Get really great shot. No, they're not. They're shit. But never mind. So that's it.
Kind of how they rope you into it, right? They sell you this sweet ass board game for almost next to nothing, and then they throw some advertisements in there for their 50 books you got to buy at $50 a shot.
Yeah, and then you realize actually all of the other miniatures cost about $40 just for one, and all of this, and it's ridiculous. But it's like, this makes it seem like great value, and then you realize that all of their other products are terrible value.
Are they
that's how they get their money back.
Or are they plastic?
Sorry?
Are they pewter or plastic? Yeah, those are the best ones. They're already pre-painted. I love those. The D&D 4E and 3.5 game, I love those miniatures. I got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of those things.
Yeah, cool.
So, Gary, how did you get into gaming?
Core book, $10. Enough said.
Yeah. Entire game,
so,
$10. Hardback.
I got into
$20.
gaming way back in the day. Way back in 78. Yeah, I shit you not. I was in 1978. I would have been about 8 years old at that time. Met a kid from another city called Richmond that moved out to the school that I had just transferred to. And he was new. And we started hanging out, lived around the corner from my house. And we started playing the old basic Dungeons and Dragons with Keep on the Borderlands, the Red Box. And it just progressed from there. But like I was telling you earlier, it was just literally me and this guy would sit around and we would argue about every freaking rule that came up, because there was like rules for everything inside of 5th edition, which was my favorite part about it. And I tell you a funny story about Dungeons and Dragons that leads into this. As we were growing up, that's all me and this guy ever did. His name's Corey Balfour. Love the guy to death. Still hang out with him. And in fact, my Dungeons and Dragons core friends that I had growing up, Glenn, Jay, Corey, Mark, all of those guys, I still hang out with them to this day because of Dungeons and Dragons and playing D&D and games. Anyways, me and Balfour would just get in the world's dumbest arguments. So we had this argument one time. If aliens came down, excuse me, and stole all of the currency on the planet except for 1 penny, would it be worth anything? Yeah. Stew on that.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's it. That's how it happened. That's where the magic started. 8 years old, arguing with my buddy Balfour continuously about how rules worked and how the lighting worked, and if if that thing got if I didn't see it, if it stealthed up on me, or good times. I feel a tear coming on because I'm reminiscing.
Well, I, Eric Lamoureux, got into gaming because I was a famous mime back in France. And what happened was, I was the only mime who actually used my voice, which sort of defeated the point. But nonetheless. Sorry, Eric. That was my Eric Lamoureux impression.
I was in the shop for the poutine, and I saw the pamphlet, and I was trying to mime to the guy behind the counter that I wanted bacon on my poutine. How do you mime bacon, huh?
Eric's coming.
They're speaking and Eric is acting like a mime, and the voice is kind of going along with his motions and stuff as his camera is continuously zooming in and out of him, from him. So how'd you get into gaming there, Eric? How'd you get into this beautiful hobby that we love?
Yeah, it was the mid 80s, and I was reading those choose your own adventure books. And back home in Montreal, and because I was reading those in French, I didn't speak English back then. The same publisher that published those books.
Still don't.
No, still don't. The same publisher that published those books in French also published an RPG called Dark Eye. It's a German RPG that recently got kickstarted for an English version, but back then it was translated in French too. So one day I was at the library to get a new Choose Your Own Adventure book, and by mistake I got this Dark Eye RPG thing, and then I was trying to read it and play it, and it didn't make any freaking sense because it needed a GM and all that stuff. So I asked my cousin, who was also into those books, but he played AD&D in high school, or no, he was in college back then. Anyway, so he told me what it was, and then we started playing, and yeah, that's pretty much how it happened with those books, and then moved on to other games. But oddly enough, I didn't pick up D&D until I was in my 30s, so I sort of went my own way there with different games. But yeah, that's pretty much how it started.
I used to love those Lone Wolf books.
Yep, Lone Wolf, Fighting Fantasy. Yeah, they had a bunch of series. They were really fun, old school type.
I played those when I was a kid as well. I absolutely loved them. They were the best. Fighting Fantasy. That was the only thing that I think I might have said this on another podcast before, but my school had those, and they like had those in the school library, and I thought that it was like me getting away with playing games in school, because it would be like our hour of reading time at school, and I'd be like, haha, I'm playing a fucking game. Take that, the man.
Go to page 25, and then you die, and you're like, you're trying to find the spot that you were at before you just died on this page. I remember doing that quite often. Yeah.
It's a cheater.
Say the funny part is, no matter how many times you flip to that page where you died, you never remember to stick your thumb in the page where you were alive. You're always trying to find that page again, right? Like, insert finger here, go to 25, you died. Okay, never mind. What was the other choice? 42. Okay, you go there. Oh, you died. Oh, this is bullshit.
I've actually seen some D&D adventures wrote like that as well. If you continue on down the corridor straight, then you'd go to this page, or if you decide to take a right down this corridor, go to page X, and that was actually pretty cool. I've played quite a few D&D games like that. A lot of solo adventures are like that, where they incorporate the dice and stuff. I think the Pathfinder box set has a solo adventure for something like that. So you guys are all about Savage Worlds on the Wild Die podcast. Now, I know you guys are all avid fans, like I am. I've been playing Savage Worlds for, well, actually, I really don't get to play much. I GM it a lot, but about 5 years or so now. So, What do you guys like about Savage Worlds? I'm interested because I know what I like about Savage Worlds, but I'd also like to hear what you guys like about Savage Worlds. What do you like, and what do you dislike, if anything at all, about Savage Worlds?
I'm going to hold off for a minute while these guys talk about it because I don't really get to talk about dislike on the Wild Die. So I'm going to go for some dislike, and I'm going to have a little rant.
Ooh, I'm looking forward to it. What about you, Eric? What do you like and dislike?
Well, from the player's side of things, what attracted me to that system are the options, the combat options you have that you can really describe what you're doing. You get more than just I swing at that guy and that's it. So that's what I like about the player side of things. But what I like most is the GM side of things, where it's very low prep. You don't have to worry about balance, challenge ratings, that kind of thing, building your NPCs. You just give them whatever they need, and you just go with it. So it's a game that's easy to run on the fly. And yeah, also the fact that with the same system you can play hundreds of different games. You can make your own homebrew games about your favorite TV show or your favorite movie. So, yeah, when you got your group.
The heck is that?
Ignore that.
So, are you making espresso over there?
There's my kettle. Yeah. I've currently got my kitchen in my front room because my kitchen's being done up.
Nice.
Yeah,
I heard the espresso machine going off over there. I was about to say, can I get one of those?
I'm so sorry about that. I genuinely, that was very unprofessional of me. I didn't think you'd be able to hear
it. And, yeah, we could. It was distracting. I hate you.
Like,
and what I don't like about it, I mean, there's some rules that are very metagamey, and a lot of like some rules like the vehicle rules that I don't really care for. But other than that, yeah, I'm cool with most of it.
Gary, what about you? What do you got to input into this?
This could take a while. Being that I'm relatively new to the game myself, I haven't mastered all of the rules by any means, but I am, the majority of what I do is DM, like the majority of it. And like Eric was saying, the low prep, but it's not even low prep. It's so much more than that. Oh my God, let me get going here. I'm cracking some knuckles. I feel like Rocky all of a sudden, like I'm going to run up some stairs, but I'm literally like 46. I'd probably die and then shit my pants as I fell down and my own feces would smear all over me. That's how they'd find me.
At least you're keeping it savage.
Here we go. Experience points, gone. Hit point attrition, gone. No classes, kind of gone. Man, what else? Like, the simplicity of the system is fantastic. You don't have a spell to throw, like you want to throw snake venom, you want to throw some rocks, you want to throw, pick an item, some bones. It's one spell that covers all of that. There's so many cool things about Savage Worlds from a GM's perspective that lighten your load, are equally as fun, and there's just some things that just make more sense. Like Dungeons and Dragons, we've talked about this before, Dave. It's a game of attrition. You're slowly whittling down the hit points. And at level 10, this is the same old tripe. You walk into that town at level 10 as a fighter, and that peasant comes out with his crossbow and points it at your face. You just look at him and say, squeeze the trigger. I can absorb those hit points.
Yeah, I got a 22 AC. You ain't going to hit me, bud. Yeah, exactly.
Right? Doesn't happen in Savage Worlds. That peasant comes at you with a candlestick, and you've got to watch what's happening, because it can be. And it's not that it's that deadly of a game, because it really is hard to die with the bennies and all that other stuff. But from, like Eric was saying, GM prep points, the things I need to know, the things I got to keep track of, the things that you want to do on the fly. Well, one of my characters picks up, some entrails and wants to use them as a whip, well, all I got to know is, strength plus D4 is usually what some kind of, improvised weapon, throw that on top of it. It's a simple system. And I can break out of the mold of straight up fantasy. I can play space. I can play Western. I can play Scooby-Doo College ETU, my favorite.
I like how you're just pointing at me in the webcam now.
that was those double points were for you. The settings, just the sheer amount of volume that's out there. Core rulebook, $10.
Yeah, you're
like,
right.
There's so many things that you, and no system's perfect by any means. My motto these days is I'm 46 years old. I don't have time to learn a new system. When I started going to my local gaming store, shameless plug, Nerd Haven in Abbotsford. If you're ever around Sunday noon to 3, you can find me gaming there. I was talking to one of the guys that used to work there, Greg, and I'm like, is there any, what's cool and new? What are the new systems like? And he's like, you got to check out this Savage Worlds. It's sort of a universal system. It's $10. You can't go wrong. I got $10. I bought the book. I started reading it, and as I'm flipping through the pages, being that I only ever played Dungeons and Dragons, I told you this was going to be a long rant. When I started flipping through the book, it's like, well, this makes sense. This makes sense. This is super easy. This is streamlined. I only need to know this. Wow. And it was just like, I just started falling in love with the system. And for me, being 46 years old, I can sort of push D&D aside, but still play fantasy because it's a universal sort of rule set. And I love it. I've fallen so madly in love with it. I would literally tongue Harrison's butthole to play a game.
Wow. So what's this rant about, Harrison? What do you like?
Yeah.
No, I mean,
except for the tonguing of the bunghole.
The thing I like about Savage Worlds, right, is as Gary said, it's a DM's dream, right? Every time I want something that's simple and easy to play, that is what I'll go for, because it is low to no prep. For example, I've got a couple of books on my shelf that have pre-made adventures in there, and the other day, a couple of guys called in sick, like as a job, to my vampire game that I'm currently running, and instantly I picked up some pre-made some one shots that I have for Savage Worlds, for things like Saga of the Goblin Horde. I've got Darkhold. I've got some 50 Fathoms ones that I found on the internet. Forget about it, and things like that. And I could just pick up one of those and easily go and play it, having not even read them. It's that easy for Savage Worlds. That's one of the things I absolutely love about it, as a person that mainly DMs. It is a dream. But I have a couple of complaints about Savage Bloody Worlds. First off, yes, the rulebook is only £10, right? But, I could get a rulebook that is written by my niece who's 8 years old, but it would read similarly to the Savage Worlds rulebook, and it would be free. The thing is, the Savage Worlds rulebook is great, but there's a reason it costs £10, and it's because it's written by an ape who's blind that's been thrown down the stairs. It is pretty bad. The layout of it, some of the rules are unclear. Some of the rules are just shit as well. Chase rules, I'm looking at you. I don't know, although it is a great system to play in so many aspects, and like how Eric said, with the freedom that it gives you, especially as a player and as a DM, that's awesome. But I just feel like some of the layout is awful, and I think there should be a revised edition that comes out with maybe perhaps a new layout, or perhaps a rewording of certain things and stuff like that. That would be fucking awesome. And I just think that also put it in a standard size, Pinnacle. Fuck. And I know that's to keep the costs down. I know that, right? Second of all, I just want to have a little talk about the community, because the community is both awesome and kind of annoying at the same time, depending on where you go on the internet. Because it's like I see a lot of people that in the Savage Worlds community that are super helpful and super nice, and everyone's willing to share stuff and get on and all of this kind of stuff. But sometimes I see things like posts on Facebook where people, and I'm going to do my internet voice now, where people will say things such as, is it bad that when I see other games in game shops, I just think they disgust me, or things like that? And I'm just like, all right, mate. Savage Worlds is good, but get over it. I feel the same way about people that are fans of Bacon or Adventure Time. It's like, shut the fuck up, mate. It's a good game, but will you just stop being such a cunt?
A cheeky cunt.
Oh, sorry.
Do you feel better now?
Yeah, I feel a little bit better. I got it out of my system.
I almost want to give you a hug right now, Harrison. I wish I could totally just give you a hug. I like Savage Worlds, and to touch on what you guys said, the one thing that I really love about Savage Worlds and that you guys didn't mention are exploding die. I love the exploding die. That is like the main gimmick of the game. Like Gary said, that little peasant with the crossbow, with the broken bolt, that fucker will kill you if he explodes enough. If those dice explode or ace enough, you can die. No character is safe in this game. There's no hiding behind these 22 armor classes and stuff. Although, granted, sure, that was a mechanic that was put into the other D20 games, and it's there for you to do, but there's a lot more hitting going on, monster versus player when you're talking Savage Worlds. And plus, I think it keeps you as the player on the edge of your seat when you're playing Savage Worlds, because in the back of your head, holy crap, if the GM aces a couple times, I'm in some serious trouble here, and we got to start going to incapacitation. As we all know, incapacitation rules they're pretty vicious. So that's the main thing. Yeah, exactly. That's what I love about Savage Worlds. Now, from a game master's point of view, it's the generic universal system. You can play anything. And once you play the game one time, it don't matter if you're playing modern day zombie apocalypse or converting Pathfinder to Savage Worlds rules, it's all the same. Now, the thing that I do hate about Savage Worlds that I wish that would be revised is what Harrison talked about, the chase rules. When I'm doing chases in my Savage Worlds game, I don't even follow those. I just do initiative normally and let everybody take actions, and if they have a low enough roll, then we'll go to complications, because that's what would happen anyway if they have a low enough card for initiative. So, but I do love Savage Worlds. It's probably my favorite system.
It feels to me like the part of the way the Savage Worlds was written. Now, I may be wrong about this, but it feels to me like what they did is they made this super simple system, and I know that it was taken from Deadlands and modified. So maybe this was part of the way that maybe Deadlands was written, but it feels to me like they had this super simple system, realized that they needed rules for certain things, or perhaps when they focus tested it or tested it, play tested it and things like this, that they needed rules for certain things, and they just made up rules for things like chases and dramatic tasks and things like this, and made up rules, and with varying success. Like some of it worked, some of it didn't, but all of it stayed in the game for some reason.
Yeah, you can't nail everything. I think the overall grand scheme of things, I think it's, especially with like social conflicts and dramatic scenes and all that stuff, I think they nailed all that stuff, except the chase rules. That's the only complaint I have about the game. I mean, everything else is just absolutely great. And yeah, some things could be worded a little bit differently, but I think that could be said just about any game out there. So
for those viewers that think broken crossbow to the face is a stupid example for how's somebody with a broken crossbow going to take you out? Yeah, just go watch Casino, where Joe Pesci takes a pen to that guy. That's Savage Worlds.
Yeah, or going to the park and seeing that cute little honey badger there, and you go up and pet it, and then it rips or the white rabbit from Monty Python and the Quest for the Holy Grail. Yeah, that's Savage Worlds right there. So we all know Savage Worlds has a ton of settings. There's Pinnacle, there's Triple Ace Gaming, there's Savage Mojo. There's so many companies that put this stuff out there. Eric, I believe you've done stuff as well. So what are your favorite settings for Savage Worlds? Because, like Eric had said, you can play anything with this. You can play. I've seen things converted from the entire Advanced First Edition library. I've seen things for Civil War or colonial times. I've seen zombie. I mean, anything you want to play is out there. So, what are your favorite settings and genres for Savage Worlds?
Well, for me, I'm a big sword and sorcery fan. So for me, it's Beasts and Barbarians. It's hands down my favorite setting for it. Yeah, and then of course the ones we publish, Just Insert Imagination, Winter Eternal. Yeah.
Harrison, don't you have a company of your own already as well?
Imagination already inserted.
That's right. Yeah.
We're publishing Gartar. No, actually, we already have published Gartar, but it's only written on one bit of paper that was in your bin for a short amount of time, and then you took it out. There's only one copy in existence. So if you want to buy that, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have to send me up to £100.
Ooh. Mm-hmm. Or just put it on.
That's a pretty expensive core book.
Yep. Yeah,
one page.
Well, that's the thing. We and the thing is that I didn't even have anything to do with writing it, but you still have to send me the money because I'm mainly involved with the marketing.
Garrett, what about you, man?
Yeah, favorite settings.
Favorite settings.
Mm-hmm.
The two that I am most familiar with, 50 Fathoms, love it. I think it's fantastic. I didn't get to play it enough. I want to get back into it. I'm seriously thinking about trying to do something online with it because it's just that good. And Deadlands, those are the two that I've played most. My kid loves the Wild West and stuff like that, so we've really been diving into Deadlands. There's a lot of material for it. I could literally, it's probably going to take me 5 years to get through all the Deadlands material. It's so fantastic. Banning the Hammer, you have no idea how fun that is, man. Do that shit in D&D.
Roll that with
That was me fanning the hammer.
Disadvantage.
Fanny the Hammer, who's that?
You're not a fantasy guy, are you, Harrison? You're not like a...
No, Pathfinder's one of my faves. So yeah, I love fantasy stuff. But to be honest, I think I've got two fantasy settings as my favorite ones for Savage Worlds. So strap in, guys. Strap in, because my favorite settings, I've got one that is probably my favorite setting, but I think it doesn't count because a friend of mine wrote it. So it's my first one's going to be Saga of the Goblin Horde, which is a freebie by Richard Woolcock that you can get online. It's a free setting, and I would say that probably out of all of the Savage Worlds settings I've played, it's one of the ones I've had the most fun playing, and it is one of my go-to games for if ever I need something quick and fun that everyone gets and like has a good idea as to how to play it, because you're a goblin and you can just let loose and have a good cathartic time stabbing Volk up and being a crazy fool. So that is probably my favorite setting, but I don't know if it counts because my friend wrote it. So I don't know if I have bias there. But then the other one's probably going to be Savage Warhammer, which is also a bit of a weird one because that's a conversion, but it is one of the ones I've had the most fun playing. So,
well, Savage Warhammer, yeah, that's a community made. You can get that all over the place online.
All right, cool. Yeah, well, that's it. That's awesome, and I would highly recommend that to anyone. It's one of the ones I've probably played that the most out of any of the others, and it is amazing. So yeah, check it. I'm
a 50 Fathoms and Hellfrost guy. I like those two settings, but I've just got the Rifts box set also, and Rifts is pretty badass. Rifts is high octane. That's definitely out of my comfort zone because I'm usually like a fantasy guy, but I'm sure it would be fun seeing all those numbers thrown for damage and stuff on Savage Rifts. So I'm looking forward to giving that a try also. So I'm going to have you guys back on later on, and we're going to talk more about Savage Worlds if you guys don't mind coming on. And we'll talk about just particular topics. Like we'll talk about dramatic scenes, and we'll give some examples about dramatic scenes. Maybe we'll even do a nice rant podcast about the chase rules. And maybe we'll
I think we've had enough ranting for this for one.
Oh, no, I'm not done. So
So I would like to have you guys back on later on.
maybe I can teach you what the chase rules are all about and how it actually works and what they're for, and run you through an amazing chase scene.
So what Eric's basically saying is, you're doing it wrong. Yeah.
I think they could.
Yeah.
I think we could actually go back one printing and use I believe the chase rules are 2 pages, and in the deluxe, I think they go to 4 pages. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the chase rules.
I don't want to sound like the guy that Harrison's talking about that he sees on Facebook that's always like, oh, Savage Worlds is so good, and compares it to Bacon. But I find that if there's a part of Savage Worlds that you don't really like, you're probably fucking doing it wrong.
You do sound. It's weird though, because you do sound like that guy.
We'll go ahead and we'll get things wrapped up here. So, guys, I appreciate you guys coming on. Appreciate what you guys do for the Savage Worlds community. I'm gonna let you guys all go around the table and give a shout out on all your channels and Twitters and stuff like that. So, go for it.
Well, thanks for having us on, Dave.
Yeah.
It was great. Great to be in the Dave Cave. Finally. Yeah, so check us out on Podbean, the Wild Eye Podcast, and we release episodes monthly, 2 a month at least. And you're gonna laugh, you're gonna learn stuff, and
he's gonna tell you you're doing chasings wrong. So.
Yep. Exactly.
Gary, what do you got going on?
I don't have anything going on. I just kind of follow around and ride Eric's coattails. But do keep your eyes open for the Wild Dye Banana Hammock coming to a store near you.
Harrison, what do you got? You got a couple things going on, don't you?
Yes, I would like to ask everyone to check out the Tabletop Twats. It is a podcast I do with my friend Nick, who is sadly no longer with us. He's not dead. He's just in Spain. But I want you to check that out because we just did an episode on Vampire the Masquerade, and I think that you out there listening will find that enjoyable because who doesn't like vampires? Well, a lot of people don't like vampires, but it is an enjoyable podcast nonetheless. And it is our Halloween episode. We did it several months early because we were out of bloody ideas. So go and give that a listen.
All right, guys. So I appreciate you guys having you guys on. And Harrison, thanks for the awesome jingles that you've made for my new podcast. Gary, thanks for helping me get this banana hammock all set up, this banana meter. And Eric, thanks for letting me soak up all your knowledge on getting that site set up and all that other stuff. So you guys have been a big help with me getting this going. So totally appreciate it.
Anytime you need a hand tying that banana hammock string up, Dave, you just let me know.
I don't know. I think I'll probably call Harrison for that. So he's got the looks of all you guys. So.
If any one of us is going to give you an erection, it's going to be him.
All right, guys. Harrison's just like deer in the fucking headlights right now. He's just like, what do I say?
Yeah.
Hey, if you ever go to prison, you hope that you go to prison with Harrison.
Right. All right, guys. So check out the Wild Eye Podcast. The link will be in the description below. And thank you to Gary. Thanks, Eric and Harrison, for coming on. All right. We'll see you next time with the Digital Dungeon Master Podcast. See you guys.